Hi, I'm Paul, Apex Mindset. I just want to jump on real quick live and talk about this little celebrity relationship breakup that's all over the internet. We have Jason Momoa, who's, by most accounts of most women, a very attractive, high value guy. And he just had his relationship of 16 years split. And so that's brought up a lot of course, discussion on the internet. And then that brings the question up, which you always hear then in men's help or red pill or relationship help spaces or whatever you want to call it, especially in things like get into MGTOW or black pill spaces. You get the question, how could I make this work if this guy, who is this high value guy, high SMV celebrity, women throwing themselves at him, how could I make it happen for me? Right? If he couldn't make it work, how is there any hope for the rest of us? Right? That's the question that people will have. And then you'll get a lot of the doomers and the gloomers talking about how it's hopeless and women are like this and women are like that. And so I thought I would just address that issue right now. If you have any questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat and throw up a super chat if you could, so that it supports the channel and I can then see your question and not miss it and answer it. Now, you get this question, you get this idea all the time. Well, how could I make it work? Well, I think that it's a misconception of a few things, and it's binary thinking as well. So we tend to think that just your sexual market value only is all that you need, that just your value that you have inherently as a man in the sexual marketplace or the dating marketplace or whatever you want to call it, that's all that's going to matter for the quality of relationships you have with women. And that is a misconception. Unfortunately, that's not true. Now, for getting the girls, yeah, no problem. A guy like Jason Momoa can get any girl he wants. And then for one girl who maybe doesn't want to be with him for whatever reason, he can find another, hotter or as equally hot one right around the corner. It's not an issue, right? Not an issue for him. Okay. And so that's where getting girls isn't a problem, which ends up leading to what I call the celebrity or the status trap. All right. Thank you very much, Bagley. Appreciate that one. So the status trap. Now, what is that exactly? So you take guys who are high status males, and I talked about this when I addressed status in another video, how status is a very powerful attraction trigger for women, because it's the promise of her having all of her hypergamous needs met. It's not necessarily by itself going to meet those needs. Like, status doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be the best she's ever had in the bedroom, let's say, or let's say be the best legacy partner and, give her the best provisioning, or, have the most alpha behavior even and be the most attractive. But status gives the promise of that. All right. It alludes to the social proof that women rely on to know if a guy is potentially a good mate. So when a guy is well known, even just sleeping with that guy and being able to brag about it brings her mating value up. And you see girls do this all the time. Like, even if they're not into a guy who has some level of celebrity status or some level of even just, local status, she'll mention and make sure to mention among friend circles or in where times would be where it would be deemed socially not awkward for her to mention it or appropriate, that she slept with him or whatever. Oh, and he wasn't that great. She might say that, throw that in there. You'll see that all the time. Even younger girls in high school, right? The local like the hot dude in high school. Oh yeah, I messed with him and he wasn't that great, or he's a bad kisser, you know what I mean? Or in this day and age, she's a bad leg because girls in high school now just have sex, whatever. But you get what I mean, right? So it's like she'll still make sure she mentions it, because the mention of I could get this person with status then brings her perceived value up, at least in her own eyes and amongst her peers, which then gives her the confidence to approach or to be around other men and to believe that she could achieve a higher value man. So status is very popular for women, and women will oftentimes just throw themselves at guys with status. In fact, status would be the reasons for probably the most opportunistic cheating situations you run into with women who are in committed situations. So the woman she'll sleep with the guy who's the, top sales guy at her work, or whatever, just on a one-off, or sleep with the drummer in the band, or she gets a backstage pass. Like, women will break their relationships just for single opportunities sometimes, to sleep with that guy. Now, that's not all women, of course, and women having their hypergamous needs met in the relationship are far less at a risk for that. So status is definitely a marker. So yeah, all these women, of course, would love to make Jason Momoa their hall pass, like they're in the relationship. But of course, I would get a hall pass to sleep with them. My husband would, my husband, my boyfriend should let me sleep with them, because he's so alpha and cool and all that stuff, right? So that's what status does. Well, what does it do to the end user though? And let's think about that. And let's also look at what the quality of your relationships with women are predicated on. And so the quality of your relationships with women are predicated not just on your sexual market value or your perceived value, and certainly not on your status, which is part of that SMV. It's also opportunity. So you could have, let's say, be the most valuable, best guy in the world, but if you're not in orbit of available girls, then you're not going to have the opportunity, right, to have girls in your life. So you have to have the opportunity. That's the low hanging fruit, though. That's the easy problem to solve, is opportunity. Now, for a guy who lives in, let's say, a local small town, a rural area, opportunity can be a bit more scarce. But for a guy like Jason Momoa, there's no opportunity problems there, right? I mean, especially with the internet and with having resources and the ability to fly someone to you or fly out to them, there's no shortage of opportunity for a guy like that. Okay. Hot women with value are everywhere, right? So he's basically at the max when it comes to his sexual market value or perceived value, and he's maxed out for opportunity. Well, the third part of the equation, because in order to have good relationships, and the quality of relationships with women are predicated on three things, not two, just SMV and opportunity. And that third thing is your skill set. That's your skills. That's your general skills with women. And the trap is, you see guys all the time with high status, with great amounts of opportunity. They get, vagina thrown at them all day long. And so then they think they have skills with women. And the reality is they don't, and their skills are lacking. And that becomes prevalent and obvious once they get in the relationship and things go along. Now, this relationship lasted 16 years. I don't know the details. All right. I'm not diving deep in their personal situation to know what the details are, where things went wrong, and all that. I'm sure plenty of people on the internet who care more about somebody else's personal situation might want to do that. That's just not something I plan to do, or that, well, we'll put it this way. I haven't done that at this point. So maybe I'm not disregarding his skills in his relationship with her, but if it doesn't work out and it breaks up, something was lacking. Now, there's a number of reasons why that could be, you know, and it could be that as he improved and grew, she grew in a different direction, and that can happen. But if you have frame, though, then, and this is part of the skills, when you're growing as a man, your frame is to have her grow with you in your direction that you're going, so she doesn't grow apart. So that's one of the skill sets, is being able to maintain frame, maintain relationship leadership. If a girl grows in a different direction than you and you guys just aren't compatible anymore, or your goals don't align anymore, that's a problem with frame. Okay, it's a problem with your frame as a man, which falls under the skill set thing. Another thing it could be a problem with is selection or vetting. So mate selection is important because a woman has to see you as the best she could do. That's number one. But number two is she has to be capable of moving with you in the direction that you're going in your life, or else she won't be able to be around for the entire ride. Okay. So somebody that you meet today, that's a great match for you today, may prove to be incapable 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the line of sticking with you. They're unable to grow and continue to move in the direction you're going. Now, guys who aren't growing, guys who stay relatively stagnant, they're at less risk of losing girls that they're with. Well, at least for that reason. They'll lose them because that girl grows and he doesn't, or they'll lose them because that girl gets bored. All right. So, boredom, because you're not growing and moving and changing, is a big reason why women fall out of attraction. Okay. So, you know, he's yeah, so skills with women matter because you have a skills in recognizing and getting a good read on them and really being able to understand them, not just women in general, but the particular girl you're with, to kind of judge and make a good assessment if this person is capable or not of sticking with you, with the type of relationship and the type of lifestyle that you're going to have. And if you pick someone who's not that capable, they're not going to be with you for that long. And it doesn't, and you might have to leave them or whatever. It doesn't really matter whether or not she thinks you're the best at that point. If she's not capable or can't do it, then you can't be along for the whole ride, right? So we have your vetting capabilities, picking the right person or a good match. And then we have your frame, being able to maintain that frame and leadership and have that emotional buy-in for the entire duration of the relationship, not just 5 years in, but 10, 15, 20 years in, if that's what you want, right? And then you have, of course, just your overall skills in seduction. There's a lot of women who get with these high value guys who end up just sort of walking all over them or end up not being that excited about him once the allure and once the excitement of his status wears off. And this doesn't matter how much money he has, doesn't matter how much access he has to all the nicest and best things and best places. If his game and his frame isn't in order, she's going to become unappreciative of those things that attracted her to him to begin with. And so that's something you have to keep in mind. Women become unattracted if you don't have seduction skills. You have to always be seducing and courting your partner. And if not, they fall out of attraction. So there are, and then there's also, of course, I don't know what this individual wants. See what Nate says. As an actor, she got sick of him always cheating, ultimately just got out of his way. See, you know more details than I do if that's true. I don't know any of it. And so, but I mean, really, there are relationship structures where a woman is okay sharing a guy with other women. That's a reality. And maybe she just wasn't okay with that. But if she wasn't okay with that, then that means his selection of this person wasn't so good, or perhaps his frame wasn't so good in keeping her happy when he would go do stuff. But that's another thing, though. If he was such high status, perhaps he was arrogant and perhaps he just did whatever he wanted and didn't care. And eventually she said, see you later. And that's a good recipe for loneliness too, right? You see, if you want to be alone, go be alone. But if you don't care, you don't care. But Um, that is true, Sam. That is true. Jason is no Steve McQueen. But anyway, you know, and then that's the other thing. Maybe he left her just because she's older, but that shouldn't matter necessarily. Um, in a sense that if a guy, you know, guy will stick with a chick who's old, if he's getting whatever he wants. Is she 54 though? Really? I didn't know that. How old is he? I don't even know how old he is. So it tells me I don't have celebrity knowledge. So there are nuances in the relationship, right, that matter. Okay. Which is, why you can't generalize, because what'll happen is a guy that's watching that stuff, who doesn't have access to women, who doesn't have good relationships with women, he's he's going to look at um, these situations and not realize that there are personal aspects of that has nothing to do with him and his situations with women, number one. And number two, realizing that just because it doesn't work out with someone that's perceived as high value and status, that doesn't mean that, his skills were good necessarily with women. If he intended for this relation, so here's a great example. Roger's helping me out here. He's saying that Jason Momoa, according to Roger here, is 42 and she was 54. Okay, that's a too big of an age rift between male and female. When she starts to get, when they first got together, so 16 years ago, 42, 32, so that he would have been 26, and then she would have been 8. So she would have been 38. He would have been 26. Maybe at 38, she was smoking hot still. She's still past the wall, but maybe, maybe she was smoking hot. And now that she's 54, although she still seems like a hot 54-year-old, right? That's getting up there in age, and he's 42 and he ends up trading it up, right? So he ends up getting out of it. Well, if you expected that relationship to last, till death do you part, then you pick the wrong person. If you're a man picking a woman 12 years older, not a good match if you expect it to last. Now, a good for now relationship, sure. Sometimes a relationship you have for now isn't the relationship that you're going to have that's going to be good for you for later. And that's fine if you understand that going into it, so that there isn't heartache and, getting yourself destroyed and having all kinds of problems, mentally, emotionally over a breakup, right? For her or for you. If you kind of understand that, that's fine, And so, but picking a woman that's much older, that tells me we have a problem with, making a good mate selection. I'm sure at 26, he had plenty of selection, and then that's what he picked. So there's a skill problem there, right? A problem in choosing. He maybe wasn't having the success he wanted with younger women at the time, which would have been a problem with skills, right? Let alone managing frame, direction, and seduction, and managing desire in the relationship itself. That's another skill thing. So back to it, it comes down to skill ultimately. You want to improve your SMV, of course. You want to improve your value as a man and your sexual market value. That's going to give you more access. You want to have the opportunity to have choices with women, of course. That greatens your odds of having a good relationship, but neither sexual market value nor opportunity seals the deal as to whether or not you're going to have good relationships with women. All right. What seals the deal is your skill set. Now, maybe maybe he's very skilled and this is a good relationship for what he wanted. And he was seeing other girls too, and it was not a big deal. And now it's just over with. And that worked for him, maybe. Like, I don't know. I'm not judging him specifically. This is what people are talking about. So I'm using this to make a point, because so many people like to say, like men in particular, who have trouble with women in their relationships, they like to say that it's hopeless. It's not hopeless. Listen, You can have anything you want, provided you have the skill to get it. That's it. If your SMV is lower, you need to raise your SMV. But even if your SMV is a little bit lower, if your skill's high enough, you can offset that, right? Still raise your SMV so you're not having to have your skills so dialed in at all times. That's a lot of work. You know what I mean? There's a lot less work involved when you're a good looking dude. You got a lot more leeway to screw up. If you're a good looking guy with a lot of things going for you, you got more room for messing things up, but you still can mess things up. And if you continue to mess things up, that room or that that room that you have goes away and you end up having a broken relationship anyway. So at the end of the day, men, it's your skills. Opportunity is easy with the internet or just moving to a better place or frequenting more social areas. You'll have more access to women easy. Your SMV, well, that's obvious, right? Get your money right, get your muscles right, get your mind right, be a good human being, all that good stuff, right? Be attractive, don't be unattractive. Very basic shit. However, skills with women, seduction, maintaining frame, right? Selecting the right one and a good match, those things take a special kind of work. Now, I'll close it with this, being I'll check the chat for more stuff, see if there's any questions. But I'll close with this last point, though. You got to improve your skills. There is no way getting around it. Now, if you want to work on those skills with me one-on-one with the Seduction and Frame Mastermind program, there's a link in the description where you can set up a free interview and consult to see if you're a good fit for this program. This is where I'm working with people on a individual basis, plus with 30 plus hours of course material and access to other guys working on some of the same things, Zoom calls. I'm getting a group of guys dialed in with their seduction skills, and it's a year-long sign up once you sign up. So if you want to work with me this next year, that seems like a good fit, get in the description of the video, hit that link and get on Weston's calendar. He's my course administrator, and maybe I'll see you in that program. Okay, because it's the skill set that matters. If you're not doing well right now, and if you're struggling, or if you're getting broken up on or ghosted, you're having heartache, or you just have scarcity, or you find yourself angry with women because things don't go well, or the girls that you are with are just not treating you the right way, that's a skill problem. All right. And that's something we can change for you. All right. So again, that link's in the description. Now let's look at the chat here before I close this little show. But I hope I made that point and it works out, right? That you guys understand. Okay. So happy New Year to you. What's up, Jerry? Hope things are going well. Happy Friday. And this was a good point. And the point I was making, I have no idea what his game is like. He seems like a very cool, personable dude on the little small little clips I've seen of him, but I have no idea either. But that's correct. I have no idea what that is. And it's an indicator of maybe an issue if things aren't working out for him. But it's an arrogance thing. It's an unconscious incompetence. Guys with high status and high opportunity, they just don't know that they're not good. They think they are because they're getting women who want them, but they don't know that. And what's this? High status is typically an illusion if you consider that most guys have no idea how to navigate women. Well, that's exactly right. And that's exactly what I'm saying. It's like status doesn't guarantee that you can navigate with women well. Right. Okay. And so not having celebrity knowledge is a good I feel like it is. I mean, I'm really focused on other things. What's this one here? What's up, Mysterio? Don't you think in a lifetime that we all will basically go in and out of relationships, frame or no frame? Well, I will say this, 6%, I think, of relationships make it past the 8-year mark and report being blissfully happy. These are the ones where they grow old together. Now, I'm always prepared that if I'm in a relationship right now, I'm prepared that if she cannot continue with me, then I'll go through the heartache of a breakup. I'll move on and I'll be fine. Oh, I'd rather not do that. But if that were to happen, then I'm prepared for that. So you always want to be prepared for your relationships to break, right? But no, they're not necessarily all doomed to have that happen. So the frame or no frame piece works like this. It has to do with her capabilities, right? So you work on your holes or chinks in your armor as a man, your deficiencies and so forth. And you continue to lead the relationship. You level your life up. Now, sometimes there are some women who just are not secure enough with themselves or able to make the improvements on themselves to basically keep up with you. And that can happen. Now, I'm not talking, there's of course the other way around where she's doing well and you're not keeping up, or you end up, let's say, being toxic or blowing the relationship up. So that can happen too. But let's assume though that you are working on yourself and you're doing really well, and that you are, leveling parts of your life up, you're getting better. She needs to be able to keep up with that in her own way. And, not every woman will be capable of that. Now, the skill part, though, is being able, if you want to be with somebody for the long haul, you pick somebody that you believe will have those capabilities. But it turns out often that you pick somebody who doesn't have the capabilities. You're with them for a few years. You find out that they just can't go any further. You do your best to, you know, have them bought into wanting to be with you, to be that compliment in your life. Your frame is there and it's solid, but yeah, she just can't do it. And if that's the case, you're right. I mean, breaking up, that's what happens. So breakups happen, and that can happen for that reason for sure. But again, most of that stuff, though, that's not usually what happens. Most of the time, it's because the guy's skills are lacking, really, or he picked the wrong chick. And when I say wrong chick, I mean her skills could be lacking too, and she's unwilling or unable to improve herself, right? And then that does boil down to the man as the end user because he picked her, right? So, men, you do have control over yourself. You do have control over your fate. You just have to be able to do the work. And doing the work on the skill part is where it's necessary. Um, and so I'm going through, let's see. And okay. Well, there we go. Kick ass energy like Duke Nukem. All right. We'll end on that note. Thank you, sir. Hopefully that makes sense. So don't get doom and gloomy, right? I mean, you guys are fine. Yeah. You just need to work on some skills. That's all. I mean, of course, SMV, work on all of it, right? But, you want things to last a long time for you. You have to work on your skills and frame and seduction. There's just no way around it. Okay. And so that's it. That's what it takes. And you guys are all capable of doing that. And keep watching the stuff. Thanks for the engagement. Make sure you hit that like button and all that stuff. It helps me get this information out to more people. And like I said, if you want to do some work with me, click that link in the description. Take care.